been working on it and like kind of where the idea for it came from initially. I know that like we talked once before in a video on the YouTube channel, but you know, I'm sure not everybody here has seen that, and I'm sure that there's some people who are seeing this game for the first time. So yeah, I guess that's the opening question. While I stab stuff.
Yeah. So I started making this a year ago, and I was very excited by Rift Wizard. I think I played that. That game made me realize that people would be interested in something where you just make builds. That's sort of like what I like, but I couldn't really find a lot of games like that. So I made this, and my background is sort of making Warcraft 3 maps. That's like the extent of my expertise. So there's actually a lot of this that's from like Warcraft 3 mods I've made, but in terms of like everything that goes into a standalone game, I'm very new to all this. So it's been interesting learning how to do this stuff and like get a Steam game and that kind of thing.
Since you came from like kind of the Warcraft modding scene, was like the Warcraft 3 Reforged kind of a part of the impetus for you to start working on your own projects in different engine, or was that unrelated?
Yeah, that was like, yeah, well, it was such a utopian sort of game community until that happened. It was like 10 plus years of people just making their own games basically, and with free multiplayer and sharing it. And I know that exists in other forms now, like Minecraft or Roblox, but it was like totally unregulated. It was very, a lot of stuff came out of that. That was really good. And then the whole Reforged thing. I felt this way. A lot of people felt like they kind of realized how little control we had over space. Nice. There it goes.
I died to a death drake. Sag.
That's what happens to me.
Yeah, it happens. Let's try that again though. I like that build.
This game's been interesting because I'm actually like I don't play it very well, but there are people that are really really good at it, and it always impresses me. But I'm always sort of just dying early.
I feel like I either die before the first tower or I make it to the last tower. And there's kind of no between. Yeah. So like I guess kind of like talking about like utopian game communities and whatnot. It's kind of interesting like seeing creators that work in like third-party mod tools for other games, or alternatively in like creation sandboxes, moving over to things like Unity and Godot and other engines that are more accessible, especially with like engines becoming more accessible. So like I know that this runs in Godot, and that was kind of a topic going on in chat a little bit earlier here about I know a number of people from my community at the very least have picked this game up just purely because it runs in Godot. So Where did your engine choice come in there? Was it just because it's like free and accessible? Did you ever look at other engines, or was like Godot just the first and only option there?
Yeah, I think because it was free and accessible, it's really easy to run. Like it doesn't take up a lot of computer. I don't really have powerful computers. I have a really bad laptop and a desktop. They're both pretty weak, and that's sort of been my past 15 years. So it's sort of I favor things that can run easily and don't take up a lot of space. And that's also sort of where my interest in roguelikes came from, because those were games I could always sort of play. Never had to worry about whether I could run it or not. So I was interested in making a game like that. Unity is probably the best thing to use, but I kept seeing anecdotes about like projects freezing in the loading screen and stuff like that and crashing. And I don't know, that kind of thing is hard for me to deal with. I'm not like, I don't have the best like version control or anything. And Godot has been really good. Like it hasn't had any issues at all, really, actually, which is surprising. But it's just it's very lightweight, which I liked, short of actually using a programming language or anything. I mean, as a total beginner, I can definitely recommend it. It was pretty easy to use.
Also, Nerf Scudler, I think, has an interesting question in chat, which is, what Warcraft 3 mods did you make?
Oh, you probably they weren't any of the huge ones. I actually made, I think my most popular Warcraft 3 map is called Ulfsire's Roguelike. And it actually has a lot of the things that are in this, actually.
What mechanics were lifted from that for this?
The attaching abilities is things that you attach to certain actions, like on attack, on standstill, on prayer, that kind of thing. It worked a little bit differently, and it was real time. What was good at what was so fun about it, which is much harder to do as a solo developer, is it like in Warcraft 3 you have multiplayer, so you could play with 4 people. That's a lot of fun, doing this kind of thing in a group. Yeah, I did that. I had a couple maps, but they're all based on the same type of thing, where you are able to make custom builds in some way, like in the form of a strategy game or and stuff like that. But like being able to combine elements to create sort of a identity power expression around some kind of theme that you like, and giving like kind of breaking it into parts, like into sort of atomizing it so you can combine things and create like a distinct sort of idea out of different sort of other ideas. That's what I try doing this anyway, and it's been interesting trying to translate some of those things over here. And that's why when I saw Rift Wizard, it was like, wow, this is like the kind of game I want to make, and it exists, and people like it. It was really motivating to see that.
So you've kind of gone through like the super early alpha tract, I think, of like common game development now, where it's like you put out the game up for free on itch and like screamed on social media until some people noticed, and then waited for some people to start playing, and then like got a testing crew going, and now you finally like eked your way onto early access on Steam.
I'm crawling.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're doing okay. You've got 2,500% positive reviews. It's pretty good. But what's that process been like? What's the learning curve been like for you doing that, considering you came from, Warcraft 3 maps and just like kind of a closed ecosystem to largely a completely different commercial ecosystem. So what's that process of like learning and building up to that release been like?
Yeah, it's definitely one thing that translated was I had a Discord for Warcraft 3 maps. So like making the Discord and getting people into it, using that to sort of keep people organized around your projects. Mm-hmm. Something I was used to, but everything else was totally new. And I sort of like I don't know. I think I just kept reading forums and like Reddit, which isn't the best advice, but it's something about just kind of how people did things. I looked really closely at what Rift Wizard did, which was go into early access for a year and then release. I'm trying to kind of copy that part with the whole Steam thing. But before that, like I didn't really have a plan about like having a demo and stuff. Again, Godot was so great because I could just export a web version, and that was like probably the major thing that let me share it with people and get people sort of invested in the game because they could play it. And I kind of waited a long time. I was working on it for a couple months before I even put anything online, just to make sure that there was some kind of fun. Like I'm kind of sick of the term gameplay loop, but like there was a fun thing to engage with,
interesting things to play with.
Yeah, I was very sort of one piece of advice that seems to make a lot of sense is if you're asking for attention, make sure you can funnel the attention into something. So I wanted to make sure I had that playable thing before I started just posting on Twitter constantly, so that people could go somewhere and then
instead of
be retained.
Being one of the many indie devs who's constantly showing cool as heck gifs of a game you can't play.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and I would love to have I'd love to have a nice GIF with like 5,000 likes. That would be fantastic. But a lot of those things, I mean, and people have talked about, they don't really translate into people actually playing a game.
Mm-hmm.
I've been really like, it's easy to be tempted into that because it's so satisfying, and it's what Twitter sort of programs you to do, just be satisfied getting likes. So I've been trying to force myself to actually release things. It's been helpful, I think.
Likes don't pay rent.
Look at this Volkite.
How do you feel about your the actual launch into early access? Like, has it done about as well, or has it exceeded your expectations? Are you still just kind of going, well, we'll see where it's at in a couple weeks? Like, how do you feel about the launch?
Yeah, I've been trying to just be very pessimistic about it. I was happy to get. I was like panicking. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna get 10. I'm not gonna get 10 reviews. I got to 10, which is apparently when Steam gives you a visibility boost or something. People talking about how Steam works, because Steam won't like admit to how certain things work. It's sort of like astrologers trying to like interpret cosmos or something, like some kind of divine intelligence that they can't quite understand. Like there's some kind of reasoning here, like why 10 reviews is important. Anyway, I got to that, and that was great. I think I'm at like 25 right now, which is a lot more than I thought it would. It's happening quickly.
Dang, those
really
poison stacks. Died to the first boss twice, man. Although I do like that build. I think like the Marshal combined with I think it's pyrokinesis right at the start. to get the extra hits is
Although this is something actually someone pointed this out to me on the Steam forums. I'm gonna have to change that volcano guy.
Oh, is he just like too strong?
Yeah, there's like if you've got you almost had it. Like there's 2 abilities you can get at level 1 that just make him invincible for most of the game, pretty much.
Oh, really now?
Yeah.
Well,
so
I will. I'm
just gonna change it slightly.
I want to play the culture of me, which is the culture of a skeleton. We're going to be a skeleton summoner who worships Irish. Although this god that heals or cleanses corrosion, because I've died to corrosion so many times. It's always corrosion.
Right there.
But I think what it is it's kind of like in on YouTube. There's like this magic ratio between like views per hour and likes and comments that you can get, where YouTube will just like put you on the front page for no reason. It happened to me.
Yeah,
like
it
2
feels
days
random
ago.
sometimes too.
Yeah, it happened to me like 2 days ago on a video. Like I was just outside, like just drinking my coffee, and I looked at my phone. I'm like, why am I getting 4,000 views an hour? And it was literally just like one video that just went boing for 2 hours and got 4,000 views an hour. Completely random video I uploaded 6 months ago. It was like,
that's a thrill.
All from browse features, and it lasted for like an hour and a half, and then it just dropped back down to like 10 views a day. And it's like, cool. Thanks, YouTube. So we're doing a completely different kind of build now. I am a skeleton who summons things, and my goal is to not move. So I'm going to start off with a flame cult, and we'll see how this goes. I'm just gonna simply not move, see how long we can last, and see if they can do all the work for me.
So I added a new thing, an astral power that makes your summons not take damage from you.
Yes, I
think it costs 2.
We'll definitely need to grab that, because that is like one of the most important like summoner abilities now, because the amount of collateral damage. Yeah, it's innervation, I think. Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah,
Allies become immune to damage dealt by you.
It was heavily requested that I add that, so I just added it.
Just something.
I tend to play like I like to kill my allies and have effects based on that, but I understand why that's not the normal way.
Well, I mean, it's not that it's not the normal way. It's just it's an option, right?
Just not an intuitive thing to want.
I really want one of the staffs that gives me a standstill proc. You gaze upon a desert ruin, you sense the rattle of crude armor and mud golems. Ew. Ice beetles, a magic staff abandoned by a blue mage, or a mage's silky green cap and a robe abandoned by a swamp-dwelling sage.
Yeah, I gotta have it.
I think that based on what True Freak said, it's like a game that's based on being broken is kind of fun. Like if the gameplay loop is break it, that is, you know, it's kind of like it's the Risk of Rain thing, right? It's like, what's the point of Risk of Rain? Be too strong.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like it can be a relief to sort of admit that that's what you're making, because then you don't have to worry as much about countering everything you see a player do. I heard that like the roguelike Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup, that game originally was designed by like a couple of friends, and they kept adding things, kill each other in it. Like they'd see what they did and then add something to counter them. That was sort of like the game evolved, and I was like kind of trying to do that, and it was getting pretty miserable because people just kept finding new ways to break it. So I've sort of submitted to the idea that it's the broken build sandbox. I'm happy with that description. The program I use to make pixel art is GIMP, which is not a good program to do it in. To answer your question, I should be using Sprite or something, but I don't.
Why are you using GNU editing software? Or are you just committing to the life of open source alternative 2?
I know, it sounds like I'm an open source fanatic. It just kind of happens that way. I guess I am. I mean, because I'm using GIMP to make pixel art.
I mean, this literally is one of my favorite websites ever. Image manipulation program. My bad. I'm very sorry. Trying to decide what cult I should save up for next. Probably the Star Cult, I think. Just
Star
a
one's
bunch of Star
pretty
beasts.
good. It's a good one.
The Star Cult? Yeah. It's between that or the Grove Cult.
Yeah, that's also good.
I'm just a cult leader, clearly. I mean, I could also just summon my Skelly Boys, too. Could just put some points into death. Probably not a terrible idea. I do remember in our previous conversation, you talked about how one of the reasons you were drawn to roguelikes was because it seemed achievable, which I have that like the retort of like some of the longest games ever in development, like the longest development games of all time are all roguelikes. So what makes roguelikes seem completable or achievable to you?
It wasn't, and when I say distinguish between like a true I don't even so personally I don't really think of this as a true roguelike. Like when I think of a roguelike, I think of something with like truly immersive, like vast systems like Caves of Cud or like Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup, Tome, those kinds of things, like a big open world.
I guess to that question,
I guess when I saw Rift
what's
Wizard,
rogue?
and I thought about the types of things I like to make in Warcraft, and like just a build making game, and that's sort of what felt. And I still call it a roguelike because I think compared to things that are called roguelikes, it's pretty roguelike. Personally, I distinguish between this and like a real like big game.
Well,
I know what you mean. They're truly like, that's what I liked about them, is how vast they are.
Because almost all of my favorite roguelikes are the most, like, I like a roguelike that is very minimal. Like when I point at my favorite roguelike, it's Brogue, right? And that is a game that has no leveling systems. All of your power is based on the gear you're currently wearing. You can increase your strength with potions, and that is, I think, the only stat you can actually increase in that game.
Yeah,
and everything else is just knowledge and puzzles, right?
It's also beautiful. It's a beautiful game.
Yeah,
it has really good art.
It's absolutely gorgeous, considering it's all entirely in ASCII. So it's this beautiful, dense, but also kind of lightweight game that's easy to pick up and extraordinarily hard to master. And this kind of feels, obviously, it's a completely different type of game structurally to that, but that's kind of what I feel like when I'm playing a game like this. I
think sort of being bad at programming was good because it forced me to make streamlined game.
I mean,
that was actually helpful for me. There are things I wanted to do that I couldn't figure out how to do, and that probably helped it become focused.
I mean, I don't think necessarily being bad at programming is. It forces you to work within limitations and then learn new skills, right? Which I wouldn't necessarily say is a bad thing.
Yeah, I think it helps. I mean, it helped with this game. It made it into a very focused thing.
Do you have something that you were particularly proud of with this game?
I'm proud of my pixel art. That's the part I like the most. I like my little pixel guys. Really, really enjoy doing that.
You know, I just would like to complain. I think that skeletons should be incapable of taking bleed damage. Has no blood. How does bleed?
I'm going to find a way to fix
They bleed bone marrow.
I can make the blood like white or something.
No, don't do that. What was it? Ketchup and mayonnaise Splatoon Splatfest showed that was a bad idea. Don't do that.
Yeah, I kind of like Tom's art too. I don't know why. I don't know if I like it because it's good art. I think I just like, it's just something that's a very non-roguelike. I think this is more like an ARPG thing where I like a game that'll show me when armor and weapons show up on the character. That's another like sort of lizard brain thing that sort of have to have.
Not a lot of roguelikes.
That makes me like, I'll forgive anything if I can see my special weapon show up.
But no, this game's just like, I think, kind of hypnotic to watch, especially when everything is moving.
That's actually, I guess I'm proud of that too. I'm proud of like actually programming a system that'll create all these like chain reactions in a way that doesn't crash or anything. Like it will kind of show it unfold in a way that's pretty satisfying. It's a chill based game. One of the early things I had to do was make it so you could just hold down the tab button and play it.
Which I'm not doing. I'm hitting the wait button.
Or you can hold down the space button. That also works. Depending on your
5 on the numpad. Always 5 on the numpad.
Those are the two classes basically. It's either tab class or space class.
So I have a question. In a world where people are getting more and more interested in games where gameplay is even less important, like it feels like a few years ago, people would just get mad.
Survivor era.
People would just get mad if you'd release a walking simulator that's just about walking forward and getting a nice little story told to you. And now people are all playing Vampire Survivors, which takes one finger to play, which is largely just about selecting abilities. And like you're talking about build-based games and build-based games being huge. Do you feel that this kind of thing has any similarities with a Vampire Survivors just because of its, like, just there is that ability of like, oh, all I'm doing is making a build and I'm just going to hit the wait button.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I think it's something that people sort of want, and I have an issue with the idea that moving your fingers fast is like a valuable thing for a game to have. This comes from Warcraft 3, being a map maker in Warcraft 3, because there were a lot of maps where it was sort of based on micro. Like that's what it boiled down to, was RTS micro, basically. No matter what like sort of game someone was trying to make, it boiled down to this sort of like tunnel-inducing, anxiety-inducing mental pressure of like how like rapidly you could move your hands and focus on different things across the screen. So that was sort of like when I was making maps in that game. I would make maps where like it was an RTS, but you couldn't select your units. You had to give them an order with one click all at once. They would like auto fight. So that was sort of like what I was trying to do there. And I think there are different reasons. Like with the walking sim and the immersive stuff, that has to do with the graphics and creating like storytelling and that kind of thing. But like with Vampire Survivor, I actually like it. When I first saw that game, I was like, this reminds me of a Warcraft 3 map I've played. Which I mean, you could probably say that about a lot of stuff. There was a map in there called like Battleships or something, where you just have a ship that you move around and it shoots missiles automatically, and you just keep adding different missiles to it. That was like, I just think I think it's nice to not. I don't know if there's like for me there isn't a value to having to click on something. Perform an action.
I think that it also like is like the popularity of auto chess as well. I think is like another example.
Oh yeah, which is another Warcraft. Well, I'll stop talking about that.
Was also a Warcraft 3 mod. Wasn't it technically a Dota mod? Or
it was a Dota mod, but the Dota mod is based on a Warcraft 3 map that was Pokemon themed. But this is not important.
It was Pokemon themed. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting. It's very much a personal taste. For me, it's sort of being in combat with people that want to micro and having to explain myself over and over, which makes me have that sort of strong opinion. But I see why people have fun doing that, and that's why a lot of roguelikes sort of add micro. Like a lot of the shooter, quote unquote roguelike, you're like running around and like with a gun and like clicking rapid, that kind of thing is definitely not reducing player input, and those seem pretty popular.
Like when you say shooter, you mean like the Risk of Rains of the world kind of deal?
I guess so. Yeah, I don't play those games enough to really be an expert in them, but like
Crab Champions of the world,
the top down ones too. There's like a lot of top down for the original roguelikes, Binding of Isaac.
Yes, the original roguelike, Binding of Isaac. Oh god, excuse me while I go puke in the corner. But I mean, as long as we're not saying the original roguelike, Vampire Survivor.
Yeah, I would take Binding of Isaac over Vampire Survivor for sure.
One of my favorite terminology for the genre of Vampire Survivors like games is automatic survival shooter. So it's an ass.
Yeah, you've also got Bullet Heaven.
Bullet Heaven is a game, though. Like, Bullet Heaven is the name of a game. So it's kind of like naming the genre of a Tetris-style game just Tetris. But then again, I guess we call these roguelikes, so fucking it would be a Bullet Heaven.
Yeah, I think the idea was that they were trying to invert Bullet Hell, because like you're the bullets, you're the boss.
It's Bullet Purgatory, because you don't ever actually win. It just keeps going for all eternity until you just quit.
I see you made it past the Violet Tower, too. I'm excited.
Might need some build advice.
There's a lot of traumatic There's a traumatic enemy in every direction.
Yeah. Although I think I shouldn't have too much trouble defeating these weird rhombids. These things, these little squares or these little triangles, they give me, I get terrified when I see them, because they just look like the weird floating pyramids from Caves of Cud, which just like 3-shot you regardless of what you are, or 1-shot you if you look at them.
I like the geometric horror as enemy type idea. I need to make more of those, actually.
Oh god, like Risk of Rain 2 actually has like a whole zone where you have to pick up like these weird warping square cubes that like are just like, I don't know, like there's a lot of people who point to like Cthulhu, like giant space tentacle monsters, as like these scary.
Tentacles are a little tired.
They're a little overdone. I'm much more like,
some straight edges.
I much prefer like a hipster modern architecture combined with a Rubik's Cube coming to crush me. Let's get on that. But so to anybody stumbling in, if you're seeing this game for the first time, if you're on the fence, try the demo, because it's an older version of the game. I was actually going to ask you about the demo. Are you planning on leaving that up? And are you planning on updating that, or is that just going to be kind of like an archival thing?
So I'm leaving it up, and I have a lot of regret. Like, I don't regret doing it, but my issue is that I can't easily make a Mac port for Steam. The demo, like, it's the same one that's on itch on the browser. So I have a lot of players that don't have Windows and can't get it on Steam that have been playing it, and now like I suddenly am only updating a game that they can't play. So I feel bad about that, and I think sort of my plan is that like maybe like in 6 months I update demo or the free version on itch, the browser version, to like this version that I released right now. So it's like behind. I don't really know what Steam lets me do though, so I'm still figuring that out. But
what's the?
I plan to leave it up for sure.
What's the limitation that's stopping you from making a Mac port or a Linux port? I know that at the very least with like Linux users, they're generally pretty crafty and like. Also, this is an interesting map. There's literally
this is weird. I'm a little bit concerned right now. I haven't seen it.
We just got really lucky and got a rare no wall spawn.
I'm a bit alarmed. Yeah, I haven't seen that happen. I think the fact that I can't even describe why I can't make a map port explains why I can't do it. I'm just too new to this. I could probably figure it out eventually. Yeah, Kirby has some Astral Horror as their bosses.
Kirby is an Astral Horror. Although the scariest enemy in this game by far is the long legs. Like, no questions asked.
Right, that's one of the first I made.
These are just horrific looking. There's something about like a spider that doesn't have enough legs that scares me. Like there's spiders everywhere in my apartment. I'm not even remotely arachnophobic. Like I like spiders. I let them live in my apartment. They live in my houseplants and they eat bugs. I'm totally fine with them. But like, there's something about a spider that's missing like 2 legs that's like, no, you go away, you die.
That was one of my first pixel art drawings for this. So that like represents me making pixel art like a year ago.
I will admit, Voidlock, this is kind of an awkward build to jump into if you've never seen this game before, because I'm largely just a summoner build. I'm essentially just sitting and waiting while my soldiers and minions go in, and then in case of bad thing, I summon more minions. Like this. And then they go do my bidding for me. I am the weird skeleton.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, this is like the best spawn ever for a summoner. Look at this. I'm perfectly safe back here. This is great. We just have a nice little bottleneck. But yes, I am a skelly mage. There's something wrong with me. Fewer legs equals less creepy. That is not true. Millipedes are terrifying. It's just spiders are supposed to have 4 legs on each side. 8 total. When I see a spider with 2, I get freaked out. I think I need to bring in the power of another cult pretty soon, because my cultists keep dying. Wait, whoa. Where did he even come from?
Oh no!
I didn't even see him. The starbrute cuts you open and you die.
Oh no, not that guy.
Not the goddamn star. That was a good run though. I'm pretty far.
Yeah, it was good.
I think it's the furthest I've gotten as a skeleton. All right, well now we can start from the beginning and I can play something significantly less confusing. Who should? Because I want to try the warlock class. What culture should I take for the warlock class? Do you think? Because
I think the green one.
The green one. This guy, Arba, or the
guy with the healing guy.
Albaz.
Yeah.
I am a denizen of the northern ice caves that amplifies healing with tattooed charms. Divine grass. I smoke divine grass.
Yeah, I would do one. Could do one where you can pray a lot. That one you can pray a lot.
Yeah, because like that's the heals you and nearby allies and cleanses sickness, deals poison damage in an area.
Yeah, it's a way to, because like the warlock and the albaz, they both have an on prayer effect. So if you have a prayer that you can spam.
Now even more fun. What?
I think it's time to see some oozes.
Yeah, I think so too. Oozemancy, maybe.
Yeah.
Just pray a bunch.
Gotta have it. You gotta have Oozemancy.
Could go with trying to decide. On prayer and stand still for each level, apply a sickness to one enemy. I feel like I'd want on prayer and stand still stuff too.
Yeah.
Like more.
That would be good.
More boomancy. Mm-hmm. It's more time. So I can just for clarity's sake, these are my prayers up here at the top. I have 3 of them, and when I activate prayers, my oozes appear.
Yeah, and so that prayer will recharge if an enemy dies while on your grass.
I feel like this should be like willpower dexterity.
Maybe like 8 strength, so you're not slow.
Yeah, that's
it. I don't know what encumbrance is like.
I'm not encumbered. Be worse off.
Oh, you've got like 11 speed. You're good.
Yeah, we're okay currently. I need some sort of damage, and I have none. All right, well, let's see who wins first, me or you. I win! Yay, okay. I now summon an ooze and back up. Lightning damage. What's the range on you? 2 range. Well, that's slightly better range than what I'm currently using, so. And on attack, deal poison damage on target. Sure, why not? Now I'm encumbered again. Well, I mean, could be worse. And a spider with 4 legs is a spider that's likely been in combat. I like your logic, shark jumping walrus. Just like a shark is scarier when it's jumping over something. There's also like a build where I have absolutely no idea what I should be doing, because this is not a build I normally do. I guess I'm going to grab Burning Ooze so that we can summon a number of oozes on entrance so I don't need to worry about having prayers up. And then my fancy grass is the green and blue grass. You know, it's just going to be on every map now. Oops, well, that was a waste of a prayer. It's okay, the creature just died on my grass, so I got my prayer back. Look at that 6-pack. One of my favorite character designs in this is, I can never remember the name of it, but it's like the first like culture that you have.
Mustache.
He's just got such a goddamn great mustache. Like, it's just fantastic. That is heavy encumbrance. Being attacked to deal death and ice damage to the attacker. It's just like a strength-based warlock. That'd be goofy. Okay, so Green Tower's got the Wings of Death. But it does have a skull helm and a mighty horned helm and a long blade infused with astral magic and a chest plate of wild crimson and an enormous club of the Feral Lands. So eventually, like, I guess if you just start to memorize what all those mean, you could just, like, not actually care about which direction you go. Now, did you do that intentionally, or did you go with the mechanic like that because that's kind of what Rift Wizard did with the peeking ahead? Because Rift Wizard would let you go a little bit nuts and, like, pre-plan your entire route if you knew how to look for it.
Yeah, it's a source of some controversy. I'll probably have to change it so that you can see exactly what items are there, but
what?
I don't know. That's like one of the last. It's like one of the last inches where I'm trying to be a little bit mysterious. But obviously, yeah, it encourages gameplay where you're memorizing it if you really want to like try really hard. But
I mean, if people want to turn on baby mode, maybe you could let them turn on baby mode. I'm not a big
right.
fan of
I just
baby
like
mode.
when I play these games, I don't try it hard, and I don't try to like figure things out like that. I just enjoy the vibe. You know, so that's all that is I just trying to sort of vibe over gameplay. Yeah, Rift Wizard, I think, at one point, I saw like there's a negative review for it where someone was complaining because I think he used to be able to look all the way to the end or something.
Yep.
But when I played it, you can only look one level ahead.
Yeah, that was a balance change.
That change really upset them.
For me, the thing that actually pushed me away from Rift Wizard was the need to be able to do that. Like, I'm good at memorization gameplay, right? I'm good at, like, remembering, okay, so this icon means this, and this will cause this to happen, and if there's enough of this here, then I can go do that. But when a game allows for and is balanced around pre-planning to that extent, it stops being fun to me.
Yeah, then you can't just go, which bothers me. I agree with you.
Like we kind of had this discussion about this game the last time I streamed it last week. That's a death drake. Let me just give you a couple more oozes. Have oozes. Be oozed. I am the oozemancer. I will back up because I'm almost dead.
Jesus.
That was a lot of damage. I'm not good against death currently, apparently.
That guy gets really dangerous if you have a bunch of allies because he hits all of them and then they all create a death explosion that hurts you. But I think he got him because he's getting entangled and they all do fire damage.
Yeah,
good.
I just backed up and waited. But yeah, I like we had this I had this conversation with chat, and it was I think a pretty interesting conversation because like I really loved the idea of Rift Wizard and played a lot of it initially, and very quickly realized that like I didn't like it at all. Not that I think it's a bad game. I think it's an extraordinarily well-made, interesting piece of procedurally generated puzzle, but I don't want to play it. Like, ever. Because it's entirely, like, based around style of mechanics I don't like.
It rewards, like, constant intelligence. For me, is a problem. Even though, like, I love... That's why... I mean, that's sort of, like, one of the motivations for making this was. I wanted to build making a game, but I didn't want to have to... I don't necessarily want to be carefully thinking about every single move I make. I just sort of want to put something together and
see if
watch
it works.
It go.
Yeah.
Yeah, which there's totally different tastes around this. Like some people absolutely love constant, every turn matters tactical gameplay. I completely respect that as probably the superior gameplay. But for me, it's just like I'm not a. I like to see the colors and my getting put on and my big weapon and just running around. That's sort of what I like to see. I don't like having to stop and make a plan.
Yeah, I mean, like, I do think there is something to be said about stopping and making a plan, but I think there's also something to be said about, like, rewarding the play style of just, I want to mess around and see what works.
Yeah.
I think a lot of games punish that play style.
Yeah, that's sort of how I felt. I just wanted... There still is a lot of focus on this. Roguelike and roguelike adjacent games, the turn-based ones, is becoming very heavily tactical and almost like puzzle games. Like Into the Breach. It's sort of like...
Mm-hmm. I mean, Into the Breach is straight up is a puzzle game. It's like, it's a puzzle
game. Yeah, exactly. And there's... It's like, there's a term, like a brogue? Some kind of term like a brogue-like or something for the single screen.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean... Yeah. I think like the game that is the most like Brogue though is not even a single screen game. It's
No, it's something else. It's like this weird niche genre of roguelike that's like more puzzly. It's like Rift Wizard, you know. And I've seen people sort of say Rift Wizard is more of a puzzle game. I don't really think that, but that's sort of like I think there's potential, and it's a totally valid thing to enjoy. It's just not what I enjoy. But there's potential in roguelike designs like this to make it more like a puzzle game, where everything is predetermined. Like Rift Wizard, you know how much damage you're going to do. Everything is very clear. In this, I added a lot of like random rolls and stuff like that. Like there's a bit of chaos, which is what I enjoyed.
The lack of dice rolls was also something that pushed me away from Rift Wizard, and has brought me towards other games that are much more, like this.
It's also like that's what I like about Dwarf Fortress. It's like the things that could, like something can happen that you don't expect because you don't know exactly. Like if you know what's going to happen, then the game becomes planning what this elaborate move and executing it. Mm-hmm. I see why that's fun and rewarding, but like I'm not an intelligent player. I don't enjoy being intelligent when I'm playing a game. I like to hold down tab and watch it go.
But I guess like what's your plans for the next few months? Because you're like you're released now. You're in early access. Game's out. People can play it. Keep patching the game. Keep updating things.
Yeah, I want to do some big exciting content updates. I actually generated a good list of like bugs and little UI improvements I need to make from a lot of the new Steam users. I was actually but unrelatedly, I was just kind of fondly reflecting on these spore beasts that you're fighting. I think like a while ago, you did a video where you got into like an infinite.
Yeah, because they used to heal. Yep.
Yeah, that was like one of the most upsetting things that happened when I was deving this, because that's like I just so they don't heal anymore. But.
So these dudes, these guys, they're spore beasts, right, chat room? And I found a problem where. Also, hi, Alfie Bean. What's up? Welcome Raiders. I discovered that using the right combination of spells, you could make an infinite loop where you would never stop attacking them and they would not ever stop attacking you, and you would both infinitely heal. Which was kind of hysterical for me at the time, but I think kind of scarring for Ulfsire here. Giving enemies heals is dangerous.
That was a public humiliation for me.
I don't know if I call it that. Do you remember how earlier we were talking about breaking games is fun?
Yeah, well, so in this version, actually, there is a combo that can keep going, and the game you won't be able to play anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I have to fix that too.
Well, at least I wasn't the first one.
It does involve skeletons.
It involves skeletons, oh really?
Yeah. I do try to reward breaking the game. That's sort of like become one of the design.
I have no idea if this is possible, so I'm just going to say it out loud, and you can tell me if it's impossible. If you find an infinite loop, the game just kind of like realizes it after a certain number of ticks, and then it just makes the screen explode, like you broke the space-time continuum and you just jumped in the next
It could,
congratulations, you win.
To make it like start infinitely creating copies of save files in your computer or something.
Oh no. That'd be like that game from like the early 2000s that just every time you defeated an enemy it like deleted one folder on your computer.
Oh no.
Now we're dead. Not a bad run though. Weird run, but not a bad run.
Yeah, it was an interesting combo.
I will definitely keep playing, but I think I'm going to let you go here now because I've kind of run out of things that I wanted to ask you. But is there any closing thoughts you want to echo out into the rift or the void, I suppose, for either chat room or myself, or maybe just tell people where they can go buy this game?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I absolutely love what you do. It's been really exciting doing a Steam release. I'm sort of learning how it all works, and I really appreciate people playing it and talking about it and leaving reviews and engaging with me. It's been really helpful. So yeah, I just appreciate it, and it was fun being here.
All right, here's to getting yourself a new computer with that Steam revenue.
Right.
Or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe just a case of beer.